Our next Watercolor Live session is a huge one. It will be Monday, the 22nd of December. In this session, I've invited Yves-Marie Salanson, who is the artistic director of Sennelier, the watercolor paint company Sennelier, based in France. And I've asked him to come on for a very specific reason. But during this live, we're also going to be studying the work of an amazing painting painted by an amazing artist, telling an amazing story. And that is another rabbit hole that is extremely important for artists. So first, during this live, this special live, we have Yves-Marie coming along, and we're going to be talking about the relationship between watercolor and gouache specifically. Now, Yves-Marie paints. He paints. He's the artistic director, and he's going to be able to give us a lot more technical information and composition of the paint information. For anyone who's been watching my lives and who comes to my lives, you will know that over the last month, I have been digging deep into the relationship between watercolor and gouache, because I absolutely am 100% convinced, after using watercolor and gouache in every single one of my paintings for the last 30 years, that watercolor artists should be incorporating at least a little bit of transparent gouache into their watercolors to solve three of the biggest watercolor frustrations. And I say this with absolute conviction, but I want an expert to be able to talk to us and walk us through some different questions. So please bring along your questions, because we will be able to ask specific questions during the live. All right, so that's going to be something very special. The other thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be digging deep into a specific painting from Australian artist Frederick McCubbin. Frederick McCubbin is the ultimate storyteller. He's the ultimate storyteller that when you see the paintings, leave you speechless. His paintings have something very rare to them. He was actually a painter in the Heidelberg School, just like Arthur Streeton, who we've been studying his work recently. But Frederick McCubbin, who was a generation later, developed the art of storytelling. Now, yes, he was an oil painter, but what I was explaining last week during the live is the fact that many paintings today could benefit, I absolutely believe, from a little bit more depth, whether that be depth of tonal value, color, and all the rest of it, or in the message. And I feel, specifically for my own work, that is definitely the direction that I'm going in. I'm developing this. I'm going deeper into this. I've always been very much an emotional painter, so I focus on the expression and the emotion that the viewer feels, because that is what I find for me is the most important thing that I want to see in my paintings. But I also see the historic, probably a little bit more generational, societal messages, which artists of the past always put into their paintings. There was always multi-levels, multi-layers. And I kind of think the more I dig deep into the history and the background of different artists, it allows me to understand why they painted what they painted and how they painted what they painted. So Frederick McCubbin, storytelling, very much heartstrings, timeless paintings, and specifically the painting that we're going to be doing this week. We're going to be influenced by his painting called Lost. Lost is the painting that you cry in front of, to be perfectly honest. It's stunning. I did cry in front of it. It's a stunning painting. Everything in you just moves. And I find it really interesting to try to understand how such strong feelings can come across into a painting. And that's what we're going to be doing this Monday, the 22nd. So don't forget to bring along your questions for Yves-Marie. Don't forget that what we're doing this week is a very strong emotional subject. Doesn't mean you need your tissue box next to you, but it does mean that maybe it's going to help us look at our paintings differently. And I think also the story behind gouache possibly can as well. So if you do want to come along and paint during the live with me, then that is obviously with pleasure. And remember that if you paint along, you will get a free critique of your painting done during the live whilst we're in the live. And if you can't come Monday, which I understand, then just by inscribing, you'll actually get the link to the replay, which you can keep for life and just watch this episode, this session, whenever you like. But it's a huge session. So I shall say I see you on Monday.